Hello everyone and welcome to Clarity 16.3.1 Feature Supportability Training. I am Vib Mehrotra, and as part of this section we will be talking about global search. Global search is being introduced in this release. This is the capability that will allow the user to search for specific data across several Clarity objects. This functionality is going to be available as an alpha version in this release. The feature is provided as is with no warranties. With that, let's look at the product in action. So I am going to go over to Clarity 16.3.1, and once you have enabled this functionality using the feature toggle, then there'll be a couple of things that will be made available for you. The first you'll notice is that you'll have this new search icon on the top right corner. But before we go over there, let's look at the administrative side, which is in the Modern UX. I'm going to go into administration. I'm going to go into attributes, and right here you will notice that there is a new attribute called search enable. This attribute is not added to your column list by default. In my example, I have manually added it, which is why it is available right here. This is a new attribute, and by default, you will also see several attributes from several objects across Clarity will automatically be enabled for search. So if I do a filter for search enable, I will then see that several attributes are already enabled for me out of the box. In your instance, this list could be different depending on the type of objects and custom investment types you have already created. So in my case, let's add few more attributes that I would want to enable. Enabling any other attribute is as simple as just searching for the attribute. So I want to find attributes for my object called funding. I'm going to go ahead and search for two of those funding, and I can search for name as the attribute, and I can just enable that for search. So adding any attribute is as simple as checking the box. There is certain restrictions in terms of which all attributes are supported, and all of that will be available in our documentation. But if you do try to enable the search for an attribute that is not supported, then we will notify you. Like in this example, I'm going to try to search for a date attribute, and when I do that, it tells me that global search does not support this last updated date. So we will notify you if you try to enable it for an attribute that is not enabled, that you cannot enable for search. Next, let's also enable it for one more object. In this, I want to enable it for project, and I want to enable search for a custom attribute called business case. So right here I have business case. As you can see, I can enable search not only for out of the box object, but I can enable search for custom objects, which I just did, and for custom attributes within out of the box objects. So we do support all of those. All right, next let's go look at the user functionality. So for that, as an end user, if I ever want to perform a global search, I can do so by going into this icon on the top right corner. Hovering over it, it tells me this is the global search icon. When I click on it, it tells me this is the global search field. Note, this should not be confused with if you go into any of the grid layouts and there is also a search within that grid layout. This is a search for a data within this object in this list only, whereas the global search is across all of Clarity. So let's search for data mart. When I perform that search, I typed in the word and then I hit enter, and the result comes up. Now by default, the layout you're seeing on the screen is the exact layout that the end user will see for the very first time. In this case, it's showing me the name, the type. So the name is the name of the object instance where the result is found. The type is the object type, and matching text is the attribute and the data within that attribute where the matching text was found. Obviously, by default, as you can see, this is not very clear to see. So what I can do is I can expand this. There are additional attributes that are available that I can also include in this list, which is I can add maybe created by, created date, last updated by, last updated date, and maybe a parent type and parent name. The created by and created date is the date and time when the object instance was created. And the last updated date and time was the last time when that object instance was updated and by who. So the data in here will be represented of the object instance itself. The parent name and type is in case if you're searching and the result comes back with the sub-object, then it will tell you the parent type and information. So I've added those attributes. I'll go ahead and close this. And now in this example, you can see that the result that came back, the first one is issue, which I know is a sub-object. But if I want to know which this issue exists, if I go look under the parent, I can see that it is under the online order entry, and for the parent type a project. So it's created under the project called online order entry. This was created on November 25th, and that's when it was last updated to. So the dates are going to be of the original object itself. The matching text column is the main column that will give me the actual search result information. So as you can see that the attribute where the matching text was found is bolded, as in this case description is where the value was found. I search for Datamart. Again, it tells me on top of the page too that I was searching for Datamart. And then in the next example, I see that the result was found not only in the description but also in the name, and so on. So if there are multiple of those, I can easily see where all the actual matching text was found with the word I was searching for. The name of the object is going to be linkable, and I can click on it to navigate to the actual object itself. Before I get to that, let's cover a few more things and then we'll come back and look at the actual navigation itself. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of object instances. So for that, I am going to go ahead and go into my project, and I'm going to create a task. So I'm going to go into Executive Dashboard Visibility. Let's go into this task, and let's just create one called FY25. FY25 Global Search. All right, I could populate more data, but for this demo, that's not as relevant. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to also go into my custom investment type, and I'm going to go into a business outcome, and I'll create another one right here, a new instance, and I'll call it the same thing, which is just FY25 Global Search. All right, and of course I can populate more data, but I'm just creating that date. Now let's go back to the main screen and let's do some more search. So now let's search for And again, as I did a search for campaign, it found me the specific project with the description that that this was there. But let's search for our project, which is, or in fact, the data we just created, FY25. So let's do that search, and you can see right away it comes back with the two instances that I created. This was able to happen because I have my job running instantaneously, meaning so there is a job behind the scenes that will look at the data and will populate the global search with those values that are available. So let's go look at that job itself. For that, I'm going to go into the classic UI administration. So I'm going to go into Studio, and under the administration jobs, when I search for global, here is the global search sync job. This is a new job that is introduced as part of this version of Clarity. When I open this job, you can see that there are two parameters for this job. The first is select objects. This will basically list all the objects that exist in your instance, or in your Clarity instance. You can run the job against a specific or multiple object instance. This is not a required field, which means if we do not populate it, then we will run it for all the objects, and we will of course try to find any attribute within those objects that are enabled for search, and we will then only capture those data. The second is full load. Full load is the parameter that basically will wipe out all the data that might be populated or captured for global search and will regenerate it. This is good if you've deleted some data instances and you want to just clean it all up and repopulate it. This flag, if you're running the job for the very first time, then this flag basically is automatically run as a full load itself, whereas any subsequent runs after that, it will run incremental only, which means it'll know the difference between the previous run and the current run, and it will then essentially capture just the differences only. All right, and running this is pretty straightforward. You can populate the name. Again, I'm not going to populate any of those values. I'm going to go ahead and then just run this job, which, like I said, I have it scheduled in my case to run on a regular interval. That's why when I populated something, it captured the data. All right, let's go back into and let's do some more search. So I'm going to go ahead and now search for I'm searching for the word dashboard, and there is a specific project that I want to look at. So I can see that the dashboard, in this case, this is the project that it was found. There are three attributes where the value was found. Now I can navigate from here into the actual project itself. So I can click on that project. That will take me to the properties page, or the first tab of that object instance when I click on the link. If I click on the link and it is to a sub object and that does not have the properties enabled for it, then in that case it'll take me to the list of that sub object, and I'll show you that too. So in this example, when I clicked on it, I was taken to the first tab of this project. I can navigate around. I can go into task. If you notice on the top, we do maintain the breadcrumb. So I started from the project tiles, which is why in my demo I was always going to the main page. So I started with the project tiles. I performed a search for executive, which gave me the list of all the different projects. I click on the executive dashboard and I landed in the properties page, and it's adding all of that to the breadcrumb. If I now go into, let's just say, a task inside of my project, then it keeps appending it to the breadcrumb, and it maintains the search results in the location where the search was performed during my navigation. So in this case, I did the search result, went to the project, and then from the project I came to the task. So all of that is maintained in this list. I can click on my search result at any point and it will take me back to where I searched last, which is dashboard is what I searched for, and it brought me back to my results. I can actually filter from here if I wanted to narrow anything down. So let's just say I want to narrow it down and I want to only search for projects. So I can filter my search results down even further. So now it's only showing me projects in the results. All right. So let's do another one where I'm going to search for, let's just go back to the main page again, to the tiles, project tiles. Let's do a search for, again, dashboard. So at this point, remember, I applied the filter type. It remembered that, and it then basically applied that to my search results. So it's only searching for project, the object type called project. Also, if you notice that the very first time when I did the search, it gave me those three columns, and since then I added additional columns and I changed the layout of my search result screen, it remembers that. So all of those settings is retained for each individual user. Now, if I navigate the same thing again, let's just say I'm going to navigate into right here. I'm going to go into task. I'm going to go into the design, right? So you can see I'm back in here where the search is in the middle of my breadcrumb. At that point, if I perform a brand new search, when a brand new search is performed, then at that time what will happen is all the values after my previous search result is going to be replaced, and I will be taken to a search screen with the breadcrumb only retaining the anything before my search results. All right, so let's see that in action, and it'll make more sense. So I'm going to search for postpone in this case. Oh, this is what I was trying to reference earlier, that I was filtered for project. That's why it was trying to search within the project itself. If I remove that out, now it gives me this value back. So now it gave me the result. Notice, as I was talking about the breadcrumb, that when the result came back, my breadcrumb, that previous search results and the projects and the task, all of that is removed because I did a brand new search in the middle of me navigating around different places. All right. And the other thing is, if I click on any of these navigation screens, menus, items right here, then it will remove the search and it'll go back to just that screen itself. So the breadcrumb is completely removed at that point. All right, so let's do one last search, which is if I can type that properly. All right, so I searched for the word postponed again. In this case, this is a type issue which is under a project called Executive Dashboard. When I click on this, so this is a sub-object, it'll navigate me to the issues page. But in this case, in my blueprint, I have intentionally not enabled the properties page. So in that case, it just took me to the issues page and it gives me the list of all the issues rather than taking me inside that, because my blueprint is not enabled to take me to the properties page for that issue. All right, and the last thing that I wanted to show is that in order for you to perform a search, if you are searching for anything less than 3 characters, then it will not allow you to search, and it'll give you the warning that minimum 3 characters are required to search. So I typed in just 2 characters and I hit enter. This would be the warning message that we cannot search. I need minimum 3 characters. All right. And that concludes our demo for this section. And that also concludes this section on global search. Thank you, everyone.